My research focuses on the history of the Jewish Baghdadi community during the first half of the 20th century, which is the most dramatic period in the entire history of 2.5 millennia of Jewish life in this area. Based on the individual histories and memories of members of this community who are now scattered across the Western world, including Israel, I aim to establish a collective historical account covering religious and cultural aspects of Jewish life in Baghdad, including their interaction with the wider Muslim society, while giving Arabic music a special place in this narrative. For the past few years, I have been conducting long and intense interviews with members of the Baghdadi community. And today I wish to thank them for their keen and ongoing support and for sharing with me every piece of information they have. Today I would like to share with you an insight regarding history-memory relations. At a time when the history of Jews in Arab Muslim countries is debated in various arenas, with each side promoting its own agenda, and at a time when memories are viewed at best as a present interpretation of past events, and many times as selective and even nostalgic, it is both important and urgent to give a voice to the people themselves who lived through these events. They are now in their 80s and 90s, and in most cases, their testimony is not documented anywhere. In his work, Histoire et Vérité, History and Truth, the 20th century French philosopher Paul Ricoeur regards history-memory relations as conjoined factors in any attempt to understand the truth of the past. This is because history and memory are both concerned with acknowledging the past as well as engaging and living with it. Precisely because we know how fragile and limited memory can be, argues Ricoeur, we can recognize its other face, its capacity to represent the past as truly as possible. What I've learned so far about the Baghdadi community is that each of them has a unique representation and understanding of the past. And for most of them, their memories are lived and relived in the present and constitute a dominant part of their life and identity. A deeper exploration of these individual histories reveals some fascinating common aspects which not only enable me to connect between the different histories and create one collective narrative, but also to understand the wider meaning and function of living memories and their active part in these people's present life and identity. Today I will present one prominent aspect, the fabric of Jewish-Muslim coexistence in Baghdad of the first half of the 20th century and before. It is important to bear in mind that Iraqi Jews were indigenous Arab Jews. They inhabited this part of the world long before Islam came about. Muslims were an integral part of Jewish life before they became Muslims, and of course throughout the following centuries. It is also important to remember that only a small number of Jews, though thought about leaving their ancient homeland, and they began to consider it only a few decades before the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. Based on the interviews I conducted, it seems that each side knew its position in this relationship. The Muslims viewed themselves as the ruling society, and the Jews understood their position as a minority. This state of affairs was obvious and unspoken. The dynamic between the two communities reflected this status quo, while the Jews cleverly created a positive atmosphere of collaboration, and the Muslims, on their part, understood that the Jews are talented, vigorous, and trustworthy. It is true that this close relationship had its difficulties, as does any close relationship. However, in most periods, this coexistence was stable and fruitful. Values of mutual respect and loyalty in general, and respect for religion and religiosity in particular, as well as similar family hierarchy and morals, and mutual love for Arabic culture and particularly for music form a fruitful ground for this very special and long-lived coexistence. My wish is that we would be able to emulate the successful parts of this long-lived coexistence in both our present and future lives. Thank you very much.